Hey everyone, this is the Emerald Egg RNG guide for pokemonrng.com. Emerald eggs are significantly better than most other Gen 3 methods because normally shininess is generated right before IVs are, so the chance of getting a flawless shiny is very slim. Emerald eggs are not the case at all. The RNG takes place in two parts. Shininess is determined when the egg is generated, and IVs are determined whenever you get a Pokemon from the daycare man. The chances of getting a shiny Pokemon are also significantly increased because the first and second half of the PID are generated separately. You don't need to know how it works, just follow along with this guide, and I'll make sure that you get a shiny high IV Pokemon soon. The RNG tool itself lives on the PokemonRng.com guide, so if you scroll down here, the first one that shows up is how to get a shiny Pokemon. The second tool that you're going to see is how to get your IVs. Huge thanks to PokeFinder. These tools are based on PokeFinder, so thanks to that team for building such an awesome tool. At the top of the guide, you'll see another guide to set up MGBA with Lua scripts in case you haven't done so already. You can see on my screen in the lower right hand corner, I already have the Lua script set up. So the first thing that we want to do is load into the overworld. And these fields in the RNG tool are set up in the order that we want to input the information. So the first thing we want to do is check to see if our female Pokemon has an Everstone, and we also want to get a few other pieces of information too. So if I go to the Pokemon info tab of the scripting window, and I hover over some of the Pokemon in my party, I can see the different stats that the Pokemon has. So first, I'm going to pause the game so that I can actually copy the IVs for later use. And I'm just going to put those in a text file somewhere. You can't easily copy if the game is not paused, so make sure to pause before doing that. Next, I'm going to get the female Pokemon IVs, and I'm going to save those in a text file for later as well. So the first piece of information we want is whether or not our female has an Everstone. My female Pokemon does not have a held item, so I'm going to leave that unchecked. Next, I want to get the nature of the female Pokemon, so it is Rash. I'm going to input that here. If you're using a Ditto, instead of the female Pokemon, this is going to be the non-Ditto Pokemon. So if you are using a Ditto and a male, this is going to be the male's info instead. For the egg species, I'm going to put Ralts because I am using two Ralts. Perfect. To get the compatibility, first I need to put the Pokemon in the daycare by talking to the daycare lady. And I'm going to want to make sure that I remember the order that I put the Pokemon in for later use. So the parent 1 Pokemon is my male, parent 2 is Ralts. I'm going to make a note of that in my text file as well. Then I'm going to go outside and talk to the daycare man. He says the two seem to get along fine. That is the compatibility. If you don't see one of these three options, the Pokemon are not compatible and they won't produce an egg. In this case, the two seem to get along fine. Now I'm going to go back into the daycare. And I want to make sure that I switch the scripting tool to the breeding tab. And I want to make sure that I walk around until the step counter is down to 1. So I'm going to do that, get down to 1. Perfect. Now that I'm at 1, I'm going to save the game. Then I'm going to reset. Go into the overworld. Pause the game. This calibration value, I'm going to type in next. So I have 19. I'm going to update that to 19. Then my TID, I'm going to put in here, and my SID as well. I'm going to copy from the scripting tool and put it in there. The advance count, I'm currently at 1,726, so I'm going to set my initial advances to that. And for the most part, we're done for the moment. I'm going to try to go for a shiny Pokemon, so I'm going to toggle this. Nature, I'm going to set to timid. And for the gender, I don't care either way. So I'm going to click generate. No results show up. So I can either increase my max advances or I can increase my redraws. For the max advances, I could go up to something like 100,000. My result here, something that's 93,000 advances away, that's a lot of advances. I don't want to wait that long. I'm not that patient. So I'm going to set my max advances to something a little closer, like 20,000. And I'm going to increase this redraw count. A redraw happens every single time that you open up and view the Pokédex, and then you go out of the Pokédex. So I'm going to set this to 20. And I'm going to click generate. Something much easier, much closer is 13,000 advances, 18 redraws. So I need to open up and close the Pokédex 18 times before I get to this advance. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to unpause the game. 1, 2, 18. Awesome. Now I'm just going to wait for my advances to reach what it says in the RNG tool. And as I get closer, about 1,000 away, I'm going to make a save state. This is important just in case I need to reset to this later in case something bad happens. Then I'm going to finish going all the way to my advance. Now I'm going to make a second save state here just in case I need to revert back to this. Make sure to use a separate slot. That way you can go back to either point if you need. The last thing that I need to do at this point is take a step to generate the egg. And I want to make sure that I do it on this exact advance. And it has to be the direction that the character is facing for best results. So since my character is facing right, I'm going to hold down the right button key and I'm going to unpause the game while I'm holding down the right button key. And I got an egg, but it is not the PID that I wanted. I wanted one that started with B533. In this case, I got D55F. So I'm going to pause my game really fast. This could be for one of two reasons. First, my delay might be incorrect. If it's something other than 0, I'm going to have to figure out my correct delay, and I'm going to have to regenerate results. Or it could be that I did the wrong redraw count. Maybe I miscounted while I was opening and closing the Pokédex. Let's figure out which it is. So I'm going to do that by trying to find this exact PID. I know that it's a serious nature, and it was around advanced 13,000 that I did this. So I'm going to uncheck my shiny filter, and I'm going to set my nature filter to be serious to match the Pokemon that I ran into. Then I'm going to set my initial advances to be about, let's say, 12,000, something roughly close to what I was doing before. And my redraw count, I'm going to set the min and max to 18, so I only have redraws of 18 showing up. Now I'm going to click generate, and I'm going to try to find the one that I ran into. So in this case, I ran into D55F. So I'm going to scroll through my list here, and here's the PID right here. I found it, which means I did actually do the 18 redraws. That's great. If I could not find my PID anywhere, it means my redraws were incorrect, and I need to try this RNG again. But in this case, since I did have the correct redraw account, it means that my delay was incorrect. So what I need to do is take the advance that I landed on, and I need to subtract my target advance from it, and that'll get my delay. So since I landed on 12,995, 12,995 minus 13,049 is negative 54. So that is my new delay. I need to add negative 54 here. Then I'm going to click generate, and I'm going to make sure that what I landed on, the advance matches the one that I went for. The PID now matches the advance that I landed on to generate this. Now I can update my filter back to what it was before, timid, I want a shiny Pokemon. I'm going to set my advances back to 1000 again, click generate. This is the same PID from before that I was targeting, but it's a different advance now. So I'm going to restart my save, load back into the overworld, view the Pokédex 18 different times. 1, 18. Perfect. Now I just wait for my advance to get to 13,103. Perfect. So once I get within about 1,000 advances, I'm going to make that save state again, just in case I mess up. Then I'm going to advance to 13,103. Going to make one more save state just to be safe in a separate slot. And now I'm going to hold down the right button again while I unpause. And this time, I got my PID. It says star right here, which means that it's shiny, nature is timid. Perfect. I got exactly what I was looking for. The first part of the RNG is complete. Now there's an egg that the daycare man is holding. So the next step is to RNG for the IVs. I'm going to go outside next to the daycare man. I'm going to save my game. And then I'm going to restart one more time. All right, so I'm going to load into this. Whenever I load the save, I'm going to view my trainer card. I'm going to flip it over. That helps with stability later. Then I'm going to talk with the daycare man, and I'm going to get to the text where it says take good care of it. Then I'm going to pause. I'm going to take my advances, which are currently 4,892, set that as the initial advances. My max advances I'm going to set to about 10,000. Delay I'm going to leave the same for now. I can adjust this the same way I did before in case I miss my advance. And then I'm going to type in the parent IVs. This is why it's important to remember which parent you put in first and which parent you put in second. In this case, because I put the male first, I'm going to type in the male's IVs into the parent 1 IVs. So 22, 39, 11, 31, 1. And then parent 2 IVs were 1, 19, 20, 15, 9, 31. For method, I'm going to leave this as normal. The reason that we flipped the trainer card, right? Similar to how wild Pokemon, you can get method 1H or 2H or 4H, eggs have the same thing where you can have normal, split, or alternate. When we flipped the trainer card earlier, that should help with stability. That supposedly helps with stability in order to keep the method to normal. So we're going to keep that there. Now for the IVs. Since I had a timid nature, I'm going to say that attack could be anything. I'm going to try to go for 31s for everything else. Click generate. There are no results. So the two things that I can do in this case, I can increase my max advances, or I can have my minimum IVs be a little bit different. I'm going to try 20. Nope, that doesn't really pull anything up. I'm going to say, let's see. I'm going to go up to 100,000 instead. And I'm going to try to see what I can do here. All right, so 40,000. These IVs are pretty decent. Yeah, that's good. All right, so I'm gonna go up to 40,000. I'm gonna unpause, wait for that. Now that I'm pretty darn close, I'm gonna make a save state one more time just to be totally safe. I'm gonna advance the rest of the way there. And now that I'm here, I'm gonna hold A while I unpause the game to get my egg, and I can see that my IVs were off here. So similar to what we did before, I can try to set my filters to those IVs to see what I landed on. So I was aiming for 40,193. I'm going to set my filters to be 23, 19, 26, 28 to 19. I'm going to do that for both the min and the max IVs. Then I can click generate to figure out what I landed on. I landed on 40,195. So similar to before, I landed on 40,195. I need to subtract that from what I was aiming for, which was 40,193, and that gives me a difference of 2. I need to add that to my current delay to make it 5, and if I click generate, I'll see that the IVs I landed on now have the advance that I actually hit. So I can go back and set my IVs again, generate my results, and I can see that my advance is now just a little bit before what I was aiming for. This is the exact reason I made the save state, so I can load that back up, and now I can unpause and get to what I'm actually aiming for. All right, now that I'm here, one more time, I'm going to go for it. And this time you can see that in the breeding tab, this is the egg that I got. The IVs are correct. It matches exactly what I wanted. And here's my Pokemon. Shiny Ralts, great IVs. I'm going to hatch it. And here it is, my Shiny Ralts. And that's all it takes to do an egg RNG in Emerald. Thanks for watching. Keep checking up on pokemonrng.com for new tools and updates. Join our Discord if you have any questions or need help, and I'll see you next time.